Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. We are live with, or at the, oh man, I am just completely lost tonight. Insert more coins. There we go. I have the fantastic author here tonight who is a world traveler. I think he's been around the world multiple times, or at least it seems like it, at least. The author of the Tales of Battle series. He's also an author of poetry. He's got a new book coming out at some point this year, Dragon Stories, and we're going to probably talk about some of that too. The man, the myth, the legend himself, Timothy Robare. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm well, thank you. How are
Well,
you?
I am doing all right. It is a late evening. We do have some people here already. We've got Mark. What's going on, Mark? The party is here. That is correct. Glad you showed up. Tim McKay, what's up, my man? I just got through reading Skyfold. Have you read that yet?
I have
No.
not. I'm stuck
Very
in the Wheel
good.
of Time series, as most people know.
Oh,
So yeah, I'm
okay.
on I'm
Okay.
on book 8, so I have a while. But I just want
Uh,
a stack of indie books, so I got to get through them first because
yeah.
I feel obligated. So I
I
will get to
actually,
it, though, McKay.
yeah. Yeah. I'm nearly too scared to even attempt to read The Wheel of Time right now. It's just such a long series, and I have book 1. I actually found it at a dang, Books A Million on, oh, what was it? Clearance for, like, 4.99. I mean, it's in
Oh,
pristine condition, so I was like, "I gotta
oh.
pick it up."
It's
I'll
long
eventually.
and it's thick, but even
Yeah,
the crappy parts are still phenomenal. So it's like, but you do get stuck in it. And I'm a linear reader, so I can't bounce back and forth like everybody else. I have to read a
oh,
series
okay.
through. So
Yeah, awesome. I'm eventually gonna start. I think Mark's gonna start it with me as well. We're gonna do, the Malazan Book of the
oh,
Fallen, and, I've
like a
got
little
the
book club?
well, we're gonna figure it out. Somebody. I need. Well, that's what I don't know if I told him, but I think I might have mentioned it to him. Whenever we do go into doing this, I've got to have somebody that's already read it to explain stuff to me because I know it's going to be way above my head. So, anyways, all right, let's get started. How about you? However you would like, discuss your book or books or whatever you want to do.
Sure. Okay, I'll start with Tales of Battle, the series. Pretty gruesome. It changes throughout. I'm curious what people are going to take from book 3 because 1 to 2 is quite a bit different. 1 is pretty brutal. 2 is still brutal, but moves into magic a little more. And then 3 is kind of the ending of the story, but not the ending because it was supposed to be the ending, but then I made another book that's going to go off of it. But book 1 is a rebel fox. And then there's Caesar, who's a pretty complicated emperor. They go at it. And then there's a lot of plot twists in it because I rewrote it so many times. So, and then book 2, it moves into magic. The fox becomes, I guess the best way to say it that people know is an airbender, but I wrote this before I ever watched Avatar. So
Okay.
I had someone beta read it and they're like, oh, this reminds me of Avatar. And I was like, what the heck's Avatar? So I watched it and I was like, oh man, I was like, now people are gonna think I like knocked off Avatar and I didn't even know it when I wrote it. Um, so that's pretty fun. But book 3 explores a little more of that. It brings in the blue foxes. I really wanted blue foxes for some reason, so it brings in them. Um, yeah, and a couple more animal characters and some more interesting parts of the kingdoms. And then you mentioned Flame of Alamandraz, which is going to be my Ashes and Embers series. Book 1 is with the editors. We've done a couple rounds so far, and that involves this young guy that grew up out in the middle of nowhere, and he ends up being attacked by a creature I call a Shadowcar, which works for the Lord of Doom, who's like this ancient individual that nobody even realizes actually existed or still exists. And a mage comes and basically saves him, and they have to go and find this ancient dragon, which they do. And he kind of actually, it's super cool. My editor said that he reminds her of Smog, which is like
Okay.
coolest compliment ever. I doubt he's as well as written, obviously, but like Smaug is one of my favorite literary characters. So
Yeah.
having her tell me that was pretty cool. So, and then he ends up becoming the Prince of Flame. He learns, which is like this whole magic thing. And there's a few dragons. And then I actually finished book 2. I'm editing that, and I started book 3 already. So
Dang.
yeah,
Okay.
and I've teetered off a little bit. Book 3 has been a little slow the last couple weeks because I have been editing like crazy, and also just I feel like I wrote thousands and thousands of words in like 3 months, and now I'm
Okay.
teetering off a little. And
Yeah.
then other than that, my poetry book, Writing with Wolves, is kind of taken off, which is about nature, being indigenous mixed with French, the human condition, basically. And I just got done my sequel that I'm waiting for a cover for, and I'm editing a little bit, which will be called Ballads by Bears, which will kind of just be a continuation of that. So,
Heck yeah. You're like killing it.
yeah, I basically
Yeah.
told myself this year was kind of all or nothing. I had when I
Yeah.
started writing, I was like, I'm just going to release a book a year, no big deal. And now I'm like, I have such a big backlog right now. I have like 8 books written. So I was like, I'm just going to go all in this year. I'm going to release like 4 books, and then next year, hopefully 4 books. And if that goes well, great. And if not, then I'll just delete social media and go to have a farm.
There you go. That's what my wife wants is a farm.
I had one before I was like really into the social media, and I was still
Yeah.
writing, but I wasn't big doing it all the time. And I had an eco farm, and then I moved out, and I was like, well, now I got to learn tech all over again because I was really good at tech. Moved to an eco farm, barely use anything. I wrote a few times, had a couple little social media, and
Yeah.
relearning everything was a task. I felt like an 85-year-old that just like fell into the future.
Okay. Well, we got KP is in here. What's up? How you doing? Mark says, "She's Timothy is on a mission."
All or nothing.
Absolutely. Yes. So, all right, with that, as far as your new series, so are you going to try to complete the whole thing before you release book 1, or are you just trying to get ahead where you're always ahead, you don't have nothing really to worry about?
Kind
But
of
getting
trying to get
stuff.
ahead. That way I don't leave anybody lacking, or that way you don't get those questions like, oh, when's the next one coming?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I already knew Tales of Battle would be like a very niche thing, and it was my first series. And book 1
Mhm.
is rough because I started writing it in college before I
Yeah.
knew much. But I knew going in that that would be a little rough and a little niche, and people would have their opinions. But it seems like, besides dragons being popular, but the cover and everything, but the series seems to be people seem to want it a little bit. And I kind of had it seemed like less pressure coming from Tales of Battle. I started writing a really big series, but I don't want to edit it right now because book 1's like 160,000 words, and I'm a little bit scared of editing it.
Okay.
And it's a little more. I think that one might be a little more grim darky. I'm not totally sure, but this one just kind of. I had bought a cover for really cheap. And I was like, I'm going to write this novel off of it, and then I did, and then I ended up with a different cover anyway. So I guess it didn't really matter, but it sparked the story based off the cover. And I was like, yeah, I'll just run with it. And it's like there's less pressure in the series for me. I feel like there was a lot of pressure in Tales of Battle for myself, not even from anybody, just to myself.
Mhm.
Whereas this series is like books 1 and 2 are really fun. 3 is a little more daunting. I feel like sometimes when you get to writing book 3, you're a little more like, oh crap, now what do I do? And you don't want to make the world too big or you don't want to be that series where you add so much stuff and people are like, well, now you're just throwing stuff out there.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to be a little more careful and cautious. And as someone that doesn't plot very well, I'm doing it as I go. So now I'm just like, I'm trying to plot chapter by chapter, which has not, I did write a little more last week, but it's more of a task. But I do want to be ahead of it. I don't want people to be like, well, I loved book 1, where's book 2? Or I loved book 2, but like, is book 3 coming sometime? So
Yeah. To me, I don't know if it's just because I've just been more on social media since I've started like my channel and everything in the past year and a half. Seems like there's a lot more authors here lately that I've noticed at least. It's really starting to put or at least try to get 3 or 4 books done or right at done before they actually release the first book. Now, I think that's to me, I think that's a good idea because then it's like you don't feel you're not got the pressure of constantly like you see, like you were saying, hey, when's the next one coming? When's the next one coming? And constantly like that. So
well,
that's
you
that's
also
a
have
good idea.
you have a lot of readers now that are like, I'm not going to read a series until it's
till
finished.
it's
Like,
done.
so if I put
Yeah,
book one out there and I don't have the other books ready to come, are you like a lot of people aren't going to read it for that reason?
yeah,
And I mean, that's the no offense because he's my main man, but it's a George R. R. Martin effect. Not that I care
yeah,
because I read the series and I don't even, I mean, I do care if he finishes it because I want him to, but like, I
yeah,
still love the books regardless. But a lot of readers don't share that. They're like, I want an ending.
yeah.
Um, which I kind of get because I read Tad Williams' Bobby Dollar series, and I guess book 3 is the ending, which I just found out. But it left like this really big, not a cliffhanger, but like an ending hook that's kind of cliffhangery that I thought would be a book 4, and I waited, and I finally looked it up a couple months ago, and I was like, oh, he's not doing a book 4. So I do
Huh,
kind of understand that from the reader perspective, but
yeah. That's interesting. I don't know if you had seen, but I'd seen sometime this week where someone did an interview with George, and he is still kind of working on Winds of Winter, and
he said
so
everything else is coming first.
yeah,
I was
that's the only problem. And he also said that if he dies before it's done, no one's finishing it. Like it's his.
I
So it
don't think
definitely makes me
anybody can.
nervous. But
I don't
I,
think anybody can.
I know. I don't know who you to me, even because everyone probably even thinks of, well, what about Brandon Sanderson? Because he did, Wheel of Time finished it up, but he doesn't write Grimdark, so it's not going to work. He
Well,
doesn't.
also Robert Jordan, no offense, he is great and his prose are fine, but he's George R. R. Martin is a better writer, in my opinion.
Yeah,
His writing is better and way, way different than Jordan's. So, like, if you're going off of Wheel of Time, you can't go off of A Song of Ice and Fire because it doesn't compare
yeah.
in the
I've
writing.
not read. I've not read either, but I'm way more interested in George's work by far than I am the Wheel of Time stuff. But that's
Yeah,
just me. So
I think GRM is the GOAT, honestly, as far as actual
yeah,
writing goes. I did see people say Abercrombie, which I understand. I haven't read him really. I've seen his excerpts and stuff. I've never read him, but I just don't think. I think once I think as an artist, you don't want someone to carry your torch anyway, because what if they? I
mhm,
mean, look at the show. He watched them ruin the
yeah.
show that created from his world. So like,
I
I'm sure
think
that will.
did we not talk about this on the live when we were on Bald and Balding about we were talking about how we were curious on if he actually wrote that ending and then they made the show and they realized how bad everyone hated it and then he's like, okay, I've got to scrap that and redo it.
I don't
I
think he would have
don't,
because I can't picture. I mean, you haven't read it, but like I can't picture
yeah,
him writing this whole thing and having Bran. The way he writes, Bran doesn't make any sense to be
yeah.
like the final king. So I maybe, and then in that case, it did him a favor. So I guess that's kind of cool if that were the case.
Yeah. I don't know. It is something. I'll probably get to it next year. I love those new covers they have. The normal trade paperback. Those suckers are nice looking.
They
So
are pretty slick, especially the wolf one.
yeah,
That wolf one,
yeah,
I just want to get that one. I mean, I have the series, but I want to get that one alone just to have it.
yeah, yeah. It's definitely something I'd probably read next year because I got this big Wheel of Times, or I mean, the Dark Tower series I'm doing this year. So trying to take my time through it. I just finished the Gunslinger.
Oh, nice.
That is that is a weird, really dang good book. And I know that's a lot of people either love it or hate it. It's kind of where
I've heard
I've
that.
seen. I love it, but it is so weird.
I've heard it is a very much a love or a hate thing. There's no, I
Yeah,
haven't heard much medium. Like,
I totally get it. I mean, I'm actually we have having a buddy read with it at the end of the month, and I'm gonna reread it again. Just for one, it's short, so I'll audiobook it and it'll be quick. And but it's something else. So it's I don't know. Anyways, all right, we're going everywhere. Let's get back. So what inspired you to start writing your books?
uh, in general, just
Yeah, just in general, like what got you
uh,
motivated to it?
well, I think so. I'm sure people know that have watched me on interviews before. I grew up unable to hear, or I was born unable to hear until I had surgeries. So speaking was always really difficult for me growing up, and I always got made fun of. So writing was more natural. Uh, when I was really young, I remember, this is back before we all had laptops and stuff in school. I'd go to the library and I would print out I would get a bunch of paper and I would draw really terrible Dragon Ball Z characters because I can't draw, and I would make like fan fiction from Dragon Ball Z, and that's really that. And then I was doing something. Me and my cousin would write like songs and stuff. So I think that's where it kind of began. And then I read Redwall in like fourth or fifth grade. And that's really where my love of books began. Was I read Salamandstron, and I was like, man, this is incredible. And that's just where I started loving reading and started
Mm.
actually getting more into the idea. And then I wrote, everybody in high school was like, oh, your poems are awesome. And getting to university and a high school a little bit, but getting to university specifically, I was writing people's poems and they were paying me for it for class. I was writing people's essays for class and they were paying me.
Heck yeah.
I actually made a lot of money in college because I wrote everybody else's work, which was super fun.
Yeah.
I actually missed that money because it was so easy. And then I was sitting in English 102, and my professor was like, "What are you doing in here?" And I was like, "I had to be in here to graduate." And she's like, "No, but what are you doing in here? You're a way better writer than these other people." And I was like, "Huh?" Because I was a genetic major at the time. I was studying to be in genetics, and I was like, "I don't know what you're talking about, lady." I was like, "I'm just here because they told me the registrar said I had to do it."
Yeah.
And she's like, "No, you're so much better." And she kept me after class, asked me all these questions about my major, my future, and she's like, "Honestly, you're wasting your talent." And I was like, "This is crazy." And I was taking anatomy and physiology at the time and sucking in it, sucked
Oh,
so bad.
I
The one
hated
class
that
I really
class.
sucked at, it was awful. And I was at the school I went to was nursing, like heavy. So
Mm.
me and the other guy that were in it, we were the only two non-nurses, and we were like, "Bro, this class is not for us." And we talked to the doctor, the teacher, and he was like, "Yeah, it's nursing heavy. It's not really geared toward you guys. It's geared toward them, but like it's the only you have to do it." And I was like, "Oh man." So I upped and switched my major because of her. I showed her a screenplay that I had written that I don't have now because it was on my desktop and my desktop exploded into flame. So that's long
Okay.
gone. But I showed her that and she was like, "Whoa, I could never even write this." So she kind of like swelled my head up a little bit too much, probably.
Yeah.
Um, Especially going into being an English major and then after university, facing all the adversity and realizing you're just a little fishy swimming along, hoping to not get swallowed up.
Mm.
But she really, it was like being unable to hear as a young kid, and then Redwall and Dragon Ball Z fanfic, and then my professor in 102. Those are really like the three big stepping stones to my
Okay.
being an author now.
That's cool. So what would you what would you say would be like an influence like from an author that like was there an author that was like this is who I want to write like or something like that?
Um, Realistically, I'd love to write like George R. R. Martin or even Brian Jocks. The reality of that is GRM is way above my pay grade. I would have to write as slow as he is writing Winds of Winter to have any chance of that.
Yeah.
So you see my book in 20 years from now. And
Yeah.
then I think Brian Jocks would be doable, but his creation of his world is just so well done and so well plotted out that I would actually have to sit down and plot instead of being a scatterbrain ball of chaos, which is something I do struggle with as an author. But those are the two. If I were to emulate anybody, it'd be them. And then Neil Schusterman, because I think Neil Schusterman prose are incredible. I don't know if you know him. He wrote the
Yeah, I've heard of him, but I've not read any of his stuff. So
his prose are so crisp and fluid. He's not like he's not like GRM or any of them where his prose are like really or Robert Jordan where his prose are really like in-depth crazy because it's more, I guess it's more like YA or NA. I don't really know,
okay.
but it's very adulty still. So I don't really know where it falls, but his prose are just reading him is so fast because his prose are so fluid. Every sentence is just really, really crisp. And I think I struggle at that as an author, especially in book one and early on. I think maybe it's being partly indigenous and maybe it's my becoming an English speaker and listener later in life than everybody else. But growing up, stories were told. That's like a big native thing. You tell stories. Stories are told.
Yeah.
So the modern view of show everything and don't tell is a struggle of mine because I also like to read being told. Not that I don't like showing. Good showing is fun, but I really actually like being told what's happening. So that's one struggle of mine where I think authors like Neil Schusterman and GRM and some of the bigger names are really, really incredible at, and their prose are still like really crisp and fluid. So if I could combine, all three of those guys,
Yeah.
I would be thrilled and famous.
Yeah. Very, very true. Yes, you'd be very famous. So I know you're talking about like them and the way they're. But do you like is it Patrick Rothfuss, like him, or like Robin Hobb or anything? Because I know I've heard like their prose are supposed to be really not really good.
I haven't read them. I actually would love to read Hobb. It's just I really want to. After the Wheel of Time, I really want to get into other indies, like just like smaller indies that have been supportive of me, or ones that I've seen. I just like love the covers. There's a couple that I literally just want to get because the covers. So after I get through the Wheel of Time and the art, I did open up for an arc read that I'm trying to pair with the Wheel of Time, which is difficult for my brain. And then I have those 3 books that I won that I want to get into because those authors were nice enough to send them to me. So after that, there are like 15 books that are all indie that I really want to get my hands on and review for those. Even though I'm sure everybody loves me as a reviewer or will, because I'm basically always going to give a 4 or a 5 because I'm so easy. I'm
the same way, and I know I've talked about this before, where it's especially if you're an indie person. Like I would rather just not give you a review, not give you a score, like especially put it on Goodreads, unless it's going to be a 4 or 5. If I just didn't think it was good, and I know a lot of people are like, well, that's not fair to the author. It's like, I just don't want to hurt if they get bad reviews and I'm not the best at articulating what I'm thinking about it, that's just who I am. I can't help it. And so I'm the same way. 4 or 5 stars nearly all the time
I'm
because
just
most
a
of the stuff's
layup,
good.
honestly. I'm just a
Yeah,
layup. I would love if people give me 3 stars, I would still be thrilled because I actually think 3 stars are good. It's just the algorithms of Amazon that think 3 stars are
hmm
bad, which is why the 5-star system sucks now. Because
yeah,
generally the 5-star system would be good if the ratings match what they should,
yeah,
or move to 10 stars, which would be more, or give half stars. I don't know why there's not a half-star system, but
exactly.
because like a
I
lot of
agree.
books realistically should be 3.5 stars.
hmm
Like plenty of books should. That's over average, and it's still, that means quality. But for me,
Yeah.
I'm such like an invigorated reader. It does take me about 50 to 70 pages to get into a book, so novelettes are hard for me. I've never read I just talked about this the other day. I've never read a first page and been like, oh yeah, this book is amazing. Ever, 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 no matter what it is. I never prescribe to that notion of if the first sentence is great, the whole book's great. It doesn't really matter to me because maybe it's because I'm character based, or maybe I need more of the world to really hold on to. So about 50 to 70 pages in, I'm usually like, okay. Before that, I'm like, yeah, whatever. I don't care that much. But after that, literally, unless you have like tons of grammar issues or spelling issues, I'm pretty much going to give you a 4 at least, just because you made a world, you wrote fine. I'm like, I don't go in trying to critique. I think that's something I've talked about a lot on X and other things is, a lot of people now seem to want to go into books to critique them and not enjoy them. I go in to immerse myself and enjoy whatever has been built in front of me.
Yeah. Because, okay, I totally get if you want to critique somebody and you are an author, then that's cool. But what right do I have to critique your work when I'm not an author? And that's my opinion. But like I understand, okay, it didn't work for me for whatever reason, but I'm not going to critique the way you write something when I don't even have the skills enough to write something. You know what I mean? I don't know. That don't make any sense to me. It's like
It's like
someone just
sports, right? It's like
yeah,
sports people are like,
exactly.
what did I
Yeah,
oh, someone the other day was like, Aaron Rodgers is trash. And I was like, bro, you're talking smack about a 42-year-old that's out there doing what you couldn't do at 22. Like,
exactly. And been doing it for 20 years. I mean, come on.
and been on top for 20 years. So like,
Mm,
can you really say he's trash? Like,
yeah,
I don't know. You can't even say a bench warmer is trash in the NFL, really, because
exactly.
they're still doing what they do better than most of us. So
Yeah,
in that
yeah.
way, I agree. But just in general, I guess I don't understand. First of all, we know authors put their soul and heart into their work, and oftentimes books aren't for a reader. That's fine. Like I don't
Mhm.
read horror because I just wouldn't enjoy it. I know myself. But even then, I do go in to immerse myself. I don't go in unless it's a critique partner. If someone's like, "Hey, I want your feedback," sure, I'll give them my feedback in private. But like,
Yeah.
I don't go in to pick someone's world apart or pick someone's life apart. In like my book, Tales of Battle, there is, especially book one, there is some sexual assault, and that's from a place of trying to shed light upon it and show bad characters at the same time, but also shed light upon something that does happen and that has played a factor in my life in certain realms and of people that I know. And I've had such interesting feedback. Some people, like someone I don't know, they just one started because they saw it, but some people are very adamant against it. And I get that because there's a lot to it. But I have
Yeah.
other, specifically women, that message. I talked about taking it out, and some women that have read it messaged me and were like, "Hey, keep it in, please. Like, I'm an SA survivor. It means a lot to me that this is in a book. It didn't make me shy away. It's hard to read, but it should be." And I'm like,
Yeah.
huh. And I think that's the hardest. I mean, I'm sure most authors agree that's the hardest part about navigating anything is you realize you can't please everybody. You realistically
Yeah. Oh,
can't
yeah.
really please anybody. Um,
Yeah.
so, I mean, Supernatural, the show, ever was like hated at first. Now it has a giant cult following.
Hmm.
It's popular. So
Yeah.
that's all I can really wish for. Hopefully someone wants to read animals getting their heads cut off and full the world, and yeah, we'll see.
Yeah. 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 That's true. I've never watched any Supernatural. That never was my show. But I do know I graduated with a girl that I see now, like her and her husband go to Supernatural like conventions and stuff, dress up and do all that, meet all that. I was like, never saw that coming, but I
A girl I
understand.
went to college with, you would look at her, never would know, but she like follows them.
Yeah.
Anytime there's a convention within like 12 hours, she went to it. She went to like 4 conventions a year. I was like, "Man, how?" I get it. I mean,
Yeah.
Jensen Ackles is a very beautiful man. If I could look
Yeah.
like Jensen Ackles, I would be very, very happy, and life would be
Yeah.
even easier then. But, yeah, some people are really into it, and if I could have, like, 40 people that just get really into Tales, I'd be stoked.
Yeah. Yeah. He I like him in what The Boys as
Oh,
is he
yeah.
Soldier Boy?
I wish he was in it
Man.
more, but I do love his
Yeah.
his it makes me think he'd be a good Batman, honestly. I feel like he's got that, like, gruffness, he's got
Yeah.
the face for it, and, yeah, seeing him as Soldier Boy, I'm like, "Oh, I could see you as, like, a gritty Batman."
I never, ever, ever thought that Robert Pattinson would be a good Batman.
Not even his
He's
face, his jaw is like
I know, but I think he's halfway decent. Like, I mean, he's not the best, I don't think, by no means, but he didn't do bad,
no, I
you
mean,
know?
to me, the movie is just lackluster. I
Yeah.
It's a good, like, grim darky almost, like
Mhm.
detective
Yeah,
Batman, so I'll give him that, it is good,
yeah,
but it's a hard time after you have really great Batman movies that are fun for, like, a wide audience to really narrow it to that audience, so it's not really necessarily on him, but it's like, first of all, you're following Christian Bale, who's one of the best
yeah,
actors that we
yeah,
have, and then you have Batflick, which if you like the comics, Ben Affleck's actually a pretty good Batman. I'm a huge fan of him, and he's got the
yeah,
face for it. Um, and then going into like, and also people are just Batmaned out. I think so. You have people
I
that
can
love
see
this
that.
Batman, love this Batman, love this Batman, and then it's so much transitions that it's like you're not really going to get necessarily the most fair following out of it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's almost like especially the thing that got me with them is they were getting to the point where it's like almost doing kinda like what Spider-Man was doing, where it's like the origin story just in a different way it's told. It's like, we know everything that's happened. We can nearly quote everything that goes on. It's like, just do something else for once.
That's actually what I thought Snyder
Yeah.
did good at. I thought Snyder did a good job
Yeah.
at Ben Affleck's Batman because it was like he's the older, gritty,
Yeah.
he's got the suits and everything, and he's just like the pissy older Batman. And
Yeah.
I thought that was one thing that Snyder like hit really good on. I was like, oh, thank God, because I don't need another origin.
Yeah, and that's what Ben Affleck's so good at too. Like his that gritty, which I mean, he's from Boston, so he's always got that
Yeah.
smug face, and it's like this works so good, because he is the darker type anti-hero kind of sorta, and then you've got obviously Superman, Henry Cavill, who's happy-go-lucky basically, which I never liked how they did the Flash. Like I didn't like the guy that portrayed it. I was like, he
I
just
would
looks weird.
I would have liked him, but his portrayal was weird, and then everything got
Yeah.
weird with it. I will say Batman vs Superman is one of the worst films ever, but the saving grace was literally Ben Affleck and Henry Cavill's interactions. Like
Yeah.
that was the only
Yeah.
the only really good part. And I mean, Gal Gadot is super beautiful, so like her part's
Yeah.
fun too. But yeah, the only really good part was them like battling it out. So
Yeah. I have very high hopes for Avengers Doomsday. I really hope this is going to be great. If they're bringing literally everybody back for this, and now that Tony Stark is Doctor Doom,
but it's been
I'm
so bad for so I mean,
I know.
Fantastic Four was I have
See,
a
I
really
liked the Fantastic Four.
I
I
did not
did like
like
it.
it. I thought it was just okay. So it's like
Yeah.
all this hype, all this expectations, and also Sue Storm pushing Galactus out by herself. Hmm,
Yeah.
I have a problem with Marvel and how they do villains or whatever you want to call them because they do that a lot. They have like a hero that really shouldn't be able to go toe to toe with a certain villain,
Mhm.
and they do. I don't know. Marvel to me has they do great. Well, they do good movies now, not great anymore, but they have a really hard time with power dynamics, and I don't really love that.
I'm curious if that's because of how they did Avengers, like the first, with Endgame and all that, because it was built up that Thanos is the biggest threat that there is. Well, then how can you come up with anything past that? You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, okay, if he is, then it should stop. And now, then they were going to try to do the big or the Kang dynasty, and that went well. Everything off screen went to crap.
I know.
And now it's fast forwarded to Doomsday, and so I don't know. This truth is like, what's the power curve when you've already killed the biggest threat there is in the known universe? How is there someone bigger than this? So
Well,
I don't
you
know.
also had Ant-Man and Wasp kill one of the Kangs, which to me was one of the craziest things I've ever seen, and ruined the whole
Yeah.
movie because, like, no offense, but Ant-Man and Wasp aren't really that great. So if they can kill Kang
Mhm.
or any of the Kang variants, like, yeah, does it really matter?
Yeah. Yeah. I never cared for those movies neither. And then they do put out a bunch of trash stuff like oh, what is it? Morbius. That movie's terrible. And then what is it? The other one, the Beast guy. Oh, I can't remember it.
Oh, Craven?
Craven, yeah. Didn't
Well,
care
that's
nothing about him. Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah.
but Craven is actually not that bad. It's just
Really?
Spider-Man villains or anti-heroes don't really work without Spider-Man. It's just kinda like, eh.
Yeah.
The Craven movie was actually not bad. It would have been good with if they would have thrown Andrew Garfield in there and let him, like, have a little bit of a role, it would have been cool. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just well, actually, I can't say that because the Penguin TV show was actually really fantastic, but
Hmm.
it'd be
Yeah.
a little bit better if Batman came to play a role, but
Yeah. It's about like the Venom movies. Like Spider-Man should have been in that in some facet,
yeah. Well, they
whether it's
also
a
squandered Carnage, my one of my favorite villains ever, and they squandered him. And,
yeah,
I mean, Venom movies are only even half decent because Tom Hardy,
exactly. Exactly.
so if Tom Hardy ever wants to do a live action of my series, I'll take it.
Yeah. Yeah. He's awesome. All right. So what would you say your process is in writing your books?
I wish I had one. I just sit down and start writing crap half the time. I have been trying to be better about plotting. My big book that I mentioned in a series that I want to do, but I just haven't done at the moment. I plotted a little bit prior and I'm trying to plot throughout. Most of mine is mind plotting. I have a really good grasp in my head of where I'm going, kind of. But I really just let in Tales of Battle specifically, I let the characters do their thing. Except for book 5, I did have kind of a mindset of where I wanted it to go. The ending even ended up differently than I thought it would, though, for that. Um, I am trying to be better about plotting because the more I grow as an author, the more I realize that plotting actually is very significant sometimes. It's just not how my mind works. I'm like a puppy and someone's like throwing treats and I'm like, oh crap. Or I hear the
Yeah.
sound of something. I'm like, oh, what's that? So I admire people that can just like sit down like McKay. I view Tim McKay this way because I know he just sits down and he kind of does his thing.
Mhm.
And I admire that because I'm such a chaotic individual. I'm like, oh, I got to get up and like go for a mile run or something or play the piano and then come back. So, and my everything is like that in my life. So my process is pretty sporadic, but I'm trying to get a better hang on at least plotting. I'd like to at least do an outline at some point. I did try
Yeah.
to for my Ashes and Embers series, which is the one coming. I think I wrote down like maybe 8 sentences of plotting, and then I was like,
Holy
"Ah, I want to
cow.
write. Yeah,
Really?
yeah, and then I was just like, no, I just want to write. I just wanted to start going. I like can't.
Yeah.
I get very bored in the tediousness of plotting, which
Yeah.
I wish I could find it fun, but I just don't. Uh,
Yeah.
my bigger series, I've tried to. I do have some of it plotted out in my brain. I should plot it more because a lot of it is like very war based. A lot of it, I watch a lot of war tactic videos. I'm like, man, it'd be cool to bring that in. It'd be cool. I see some authors that they're like, this amount of soldiers, and they have like, I assume it's plotting because they have so much very direct and precise, like like armies, like the amount of armies, the amount of infantry, the amount of cavalry, the battle formation. I'm like, man, I would love to do that, and then I just get lost in my own brain.
Yeah. So, all right. So obviously you're a pantser then. So I don't even have to ask. Is it better for you since you're like that? Is it better for you to okay, I've come up with this idea, like you said. I've got 8 sentences and I'm about to write an entire book on it. Do you just sit down and crank it out until it's done? Like, is that kind of like the plan? So that way it's always in your mind until it's finished.
Yep. Yep. I just have I
Okay.
just go linear. I remember exactly where I left off, and I just continue from there. And I wish I could edit chapter by chapter because I think that's actually very beneficial, but it's not how my brain works. As much as I think I should do it, I'm like, no, I got
Yeah.
to do the next chapter. I got to keep this story flowing. I got to keep it going. I got to have a grasp on it and then go back after, which I also hate because sitting down and editing takes means I actually have to sit there and go through.
Oh,
So
yeah.
that's a lot for me. I get like through 2,000 words and I'm like, "Ah."
Yeah. Okay. We got LN Holmes in the house. What's up? How are you? Oh, that I couldn't imagine sitting there and being like, okay, I've got 8 sentences wrote. I'm about to write this entire book until it's finished. And then not only that, you're writing book two, book three, like and just keep going with it. Like there would I don't know how you can't plot that, which it seems like it would be really difficult to just pants that whole thing and go with it.
It is in book three. Like I said, I have struggled a bit in book three because now I
Yeah.
have a lot of converging things that I'm adding in, and like, where do I go next? That makes sense after book one and two have these really large threats and the threats were like entangled. They came from the same place, but like they were entangled a little bit. Book three is something very different, and I did struggle a little bit, and I have about I have both books one had one direct line, books two had about two, and now book three has four kind of like lines going at once, which is a little more convoluted and complex, and I want to make sure that I'm doing it in a way that benefits the story. But also book three, when you're in book three, I've realized you don't need all this lead up, right? You have lead ups. They're book one and two. So you don't need this long drawn like the Wheel of Time, for instance. Every book, Robert Jordan does this really, really long lead up. And sometimes like, man, I know this. I'm aware, like, where are we going? We've read
Yeah.
this 100 times now. Um, so I realized like I can just jump into some action. I can just jump into what's the new threat, what's happening, where's the world coming from book two, and what's coming next. So I think in that way it's kind of fun because I don't have to worry about the tediousness of any buildups anymore. But trying to also continue the world building in a way that benefits it, and also trying not to convolute it. I don't know if you ever watched like True Blood, but I view writing series a lot like True Blood because True Blood's really good at first, and then it feels like every season after the first couple, they're like, "What do I add in to make this season better?" And they start convoluting it and bringing in so much stuff that it kind of loses its essence.
Yeah.
And that to me is something that I fear in a series that I am battling in writing book three. But I also wrote myself into a box a little bit I was only going to do books 1 and 2 originally, and I was like, I'll take time off. But then all of a sudden, I really like Kieran's. I don't know if you know what a Kieran is. It's a
No.
it's a Eastern Asian myth, and it's got like a dragon face, like a horse body. Sometimes the tails shimmer colors or fire. It's got
Okay.
hooves, scales, and fur. Um, it's this really cool creature I love. Actually, in Japan, they have a Kier. I don't drink beer, but they have a Kirin beer, which is how I even
Okay.
learned about this creature. I was like, man, what is that thing on this beer can that I saw?
Yeah.
And then I was sitting there one night after book 2 was done, and all of a sudden, I had just finished book 2, like just finished it, and I was like, whew. And then all of a sudden, I was like, Kirin King, and I was like, oh no. So book 3 is going to be the Kirin King, which I had to bring Kirins into my world, and like, I was like, no, I'm putting it off. I'm not going to do it, and it didn't last very long. But I had no plan. I just wanted to bring Kirins into it, so I was forced with like, I had a storyline already going that plays in 2 storylines with like mages and with the Prince of Flame and his best friend. I have them kind of at odds, and something happens to one of them. But then I was like, I really need to bring this other world in. So what do I do for that? So that's been part of the slowness of it, which
Yeah.
is a downside of pantsing and not having a plan.
Yeah. Are you having to spend a lot of time going back to like book 1 and 2 to remember, oh, I can't do this, or this is still okay, or are you pretty
Not,
good at remembering?
I'm pretty good at remembering. I say that though, and I wrote Tales of Battle 5, and then my editors were reading Tales of Battle 3, and one of my editors was like, didn't this person die in book 2? And I was like, oh no. It's like, yeah. I had to go back through because I didn't mark them on my sheet. And I had to go back through and be like, oh no, these 2 big characters died that I have in Tales of Battle 5. So now I have to go to book 5, remember to edit them out, change them, and change their character and their parts in the book, which is going to
Oh
be
no.
crazy awful. But there's also a huge cast in Tales. So I got really lost in
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Um, this book, there's less of a cast. The world's not as crazy. So I can maintain my grip on it. And I've done it all within like 9 months. So I have a really firm grip, whereas Tales I've been doing for over 10 years. So I think you remember things, but you lose
Yeah.
fine details. My biggest issue in writing worlds is sometimes I forget what city did what, or what city had what culture sometimes, which I think is someone like Robert Jordan does a really good job at certain places, certain kingdoms and lands having specific culture. And like, I don't know if he had a crazy spreadsheet or just an insanely good memory, or I guess he wrote 10 or 11 books or whatever, so I have dense books, so I guess he just had a really good grasp.
Yeah.
But I struggle with that a little bit. I'm like, oh man, what is this? Like, I want this kingdom to have a certain phrase, but like, I don't remember that phrase. I put it somewhere in a document, but then that document is flooded with other stuff.
Yeah.
So that's probably my bigger issue. I remember what's going on and the people and the characters and everything and most things about them. Dragons are hard because I've never intended to write dragons. I've never read much with dragons. So learning how to write a dragon, and I don't even know if I did it well or not. My editor that has gone through it is not a dragon reader. My editor that has it really likes dragons. So I'm actually terrified of what he's going to say. I'm
Okay.
like, oh, I hope he doesn't tear me apart. And the amount of like excerpts and stuff I've had to read to try to figure out how to write a dragon, how their wings tend to work, how anything
Yeah.
works. Writing telepathy was something I've never done. So like all this, it's been a lot more research, which has actually been kind of fun than I've ever done because I actually do want to do a good job. And dragons are very popular. I don't want to get eaten alive. People would be like, your dragon sucks. Worst dragon I've ever read. Like, I don't need 21 stars about having the worst dragons ever.
Yeah.
So it's just been a lot more fun. And I think compared to Tales, I have a finer grip on it, which is why I'm really scared of my other series because I think I have less of a grip on it. The storyline is the 3 storylines I have are really finite, and I have them really good, really well done in my head. But I also have an insane cast in that series, like an insanely large cast, and there's still quite a bit of death and stuff. So I'm more afraid in that one than this one of keeping tabs on everything. But that's also why I'm trying to write this one just go until I feel like I can stop because I want it all really fresh and I want it tangible at my fingers instead of taking breaks.
Yeah. Okay. So, how do you come up with your characters?
Huh. That's actually a crazy good question. I actually don't even know.
Okay.
My fox I came up with just because I like foxes. And I was like, oh man, a fox with robes and a staff would be super cool. Um, I don't even know why I made Caesar my emperor jaguar. I just think jaguars are kind of like mystical. You don't hear much about them. You hear tons about lions and tigers and cheetahs, but you don't hear much about
Yeah.
jaguars.
Yeah.
And I was like,
That's
oh, that'd
true.
be a cool character. Um, and then I built characters around them. Like I made the fox's best friend is a boar. He's kind of like my comedic relief. And I just think a boar is kind of funny, but they're also like, they're I would be afraid of a boar. If I saw a boar in the woods, I would probably pee.
Yeah.
So I thought that would be fun. In my in this series, in Ashes and Embers, I think some of it might be I wanted to do pay like homage to the Wheel of Time, in like small ways. I like to do that to books I like. So I made
Mhm.
him a sheep herder because Rand is a sheep herder, and I was like, okay, a little throw to the Wheel of Time, just like
Yeah.
that. And I wanted a character that I grew up in the middle of nowhere. I grew up on a little island, pretty isolated from a lot of the world. I mean, 40 minutes from Montreal, but it's still very different worlds. It feels like worlds apart almost. So I wanted a character from the middle of nowhere, didn't really know much, kind of naive. And now, I travel, right? Like one day I
Mhm.
finally was like, I'm taking off and going around the world. I don't care anymore. And I'm just going to do it. And I saw these places. I was like, holy crap, this world is crazy and huge. I kind of wanted to put that into a character. I kind of wanted him to be like a small dude, and all of a sudden his life is just turned upside down. He's like, okay, I guess I'm just going with it, and continually learning about himself. And then obviously the dragon, I wanted to have like a hardcore pissy old dragon, a powerhouse, and then
Yeah.
the mage. My editor actually, I love what my editor said because she's like, huh, I thought he'd be kind of cool at first, but he's just kind of a dick. And I was like, yeah, that's kind of what I wanted. I wanted like Gandalf almost,
Yeah.
but like a dick-headed Gandalf.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
um, I just thought that would be fun, like having a
Well,
grumpy, pissy mage.
yeah, that would make sense too, because if you think about it, most times when you're reading about dragons in fantasy books, it's not like they're young ones. I mean, sometimes you read them. Normally they are old and they are, kind of like the king of everything. Like, why would he not be that way? If you
Right.
think about it, I mean, I totally get that.
And then
Yeah.
I wanted to, do something like native-y. So I added these people, this race called Guardians. They're also called Waylamays. And they're basically like Yetis. And there's two different separations of them. And they're kind of like on the level of dragons, not in strength, but dragons and Waylamays, they're just part of like the magic in the world. They're part of what keeps it. Waylamays keep the world safe, the natural world. And they like respect each other, which is really cool to kind of go through in my own book. Like, how does a dragon respect this like little Yeti? I mean, the Yeti's bigger than humans, but tiny to a big dragon.
Yeah.
But like, there's a lot of respect there that the dragon doesn't give to the people, but the way the maze do respect the people in a different way. So it's kind of fun to have these creatures that are like on a similar level, but very different. How they interact with people is different. I have in book one 3 dragons that are very different, and then 2 more dragons come in book 2 that are also very different. Um, and doing a dragon battle was probably the hardest thing I've ever done as an author.
Okay.
The hardest thing, like a sword, it cuts, it slices, whatever language you use, it does the same thing.
Yeah.
Trying to figure out how dragons would fight each other is like, I had no idea what I was doing. I was like, man, how do I make this cool? How does it make sense? Like, could a dragon's tooth pierce a scale? Do they just scrape each other? How would fire even impact each other? Because they're just going to breathe fire at each other. Um,
Yeah.
so I just pictured like 2 lizards fighting, but with wings and fire and really dense scales. It was insanely difficult, and I just like went down a rabbit hole of trying to figure out dragon fights, and it was awful. I mean,
Yeah.
it was a fun rabbit hole. Some rabbit holes are like TikTok rabbit holes, nah, cesspool. But
Yeah.
like dragon fighting rabbit holes was pretty fun. But
Yeah.
it made me realize I have no idea what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Um, which hopefully did pan out. I don't know. When book 1 comes out in April, everybody can tell me if it sucks or not.
Yeah.
Or actually, that's in book 2, so I guess I won't even know until then.
Yeah.
And then in my other series, my big series, I really wanted I don't write a lot of women, For some reason, I wanted like a badass Chinese like woman, kind of like Mulan, I guess. Maybe it's because I had a crush on Mulan growing up.
Yeah.
And I wanted her to like gain vampire powers from a Jinn, which I did do. And
Okay.
I wanted her to go through like some abuse, and she wants to like, kill a family member and all this stuff. So I really wanted someone like that, which I did create. I really wanted an emperor that was kind of like Julius Caesar, but not exactly like him, but similar, just because I love Julius Caesar. I mean, I'm a dude, and Julius Caesar's a badass. So I kind of wanted someone like that. And then I wanted to do something with a centaur because don't read a lot of centaurs, and I've never done anything with a centaur.
Mhm.
Then I wanted a character that actually represents Native American culture a little more. So I did that. So I had like these 4 very precise characters that I built my world around. And like, it's basically their stories that people are woven around, which was pretty unlike what I've normally done. And it was really fun in that way.
Okay. So, do you have a favorite character that you've ever wrote?
Oh, at first it was supposed to be, I feel like it was supposed to be my fox Jacama.
Okay.
I really, Caesar originally was supposed to be my pure villain. He was just supposed to be really terrible, just jackass villain. And I really grew to love him. I actually that's why I wrote a book 5, because I missed the characters, especially him. And I was like, man, I didn't give him the ending I wanted to give him. There's still room. I don't know. I was writing and I was like, I just feel the need to give him a little more of a story. So I would say he's probably my favorite. I also really love writing a villain that he's really gross. He's a real big shithead. My editor actually loves him. His name is Rallis Reese. He's just this terrible, really shitty, there's not really anything good about him villain, but he's really fun to write for that reason. Because I think, we live in a time of redeeming villains, and it's kind of getting
Yeah.
boring. Not that I don't love some of my villains are redeemable, but I love villains like Ramsay Bolton in Game of Thrones, who's just like this really. There's nothing good about him. He's just a dick, and
Yeah.
I love that. And I wanted to write a villain that you would like love to hate. That to me is
Oh, yeah.
that to me is something I really like as a reader, and I really liked writing as a writer, even though he's despicable and disgusting. I don't like what he does, but I had fun writing a villain that I was like, man, I hate you, but like it's fun to write this terrible. I mean, that's part of fantasy, right? You want to write something
Mhm.
that you might not like in real life, but in the book, it's at least interesting.
Yeah. Absolutely. Do you have a favorite line in your books that you can remember?
Um, Not like directly off the top of my head. When the princess that I wrote confronts her dad after she becomes a vampire, I love what she says, but I don't remember it because it's been a while. And then, yeah, I don't know if there was a line I just read on an interview like a week ago that was pretty fun, but not a direct quote that I can remember. And I think that stems from also just writing too much lately that I
Hmm.
totally jumbled up, and my head is just swollen with words, and sometimes they don't make sense. And a lot of them, I think I've become dyslexic in the last like month because I've written so much. I don't know. Starting to see stuff like flipped around, and it made me be like, man, maybe I'm
Yeah.
just like writing too much or something. I don't know.
Yeah. So, are you planning on at some point coming out with like audiobooks for your stuff?
Tales 1's audiobook is out. The same guy is working on Tales 2. I haven't heard much from him, but it was the holidays and stuff, so I don't
Yeah.
expect too much. Book 3 will have one after he's done book 2. I'll send him that. I love him. Cool dude. Great voice. Does girl voices way better than a lot of guys I hear. Uh,
Okay.
and then I'm considering doing my own poetry books. I don't even know if people do audiobooks for poetry books, honestly.
I
Considering
don't
doing
know.
it. Considering doing it myself, I like hearing other people read my poems to see their cadence and how they read them.
Mhm.
But doing an audiobook, I'd want to do it myself so people know my version of it. And then I'm trying to decide if for Flame of Alamandras, if I want the same guy to do it or if I should do someone different. I don't know how that works with people. I don't know if people are like, okay, like covers. People will do a series with a certain cover artist and a series with a different one to separate them.
Yeah.
I've never listened to an audiobook in my life. I can't.
Okay. I
Uh,
do it every day. And let me say this. Well, if you can keep the same person from beginning to end, because it will throw people off. I know it does me, because that's how
sure.
I get most of my books done is audio booking because of how much I drive. I mean, I can't read,
Yeah, makes
so I
sense.
listen to them. And yes, there's been one or two series that I've listened to where they swapped the narrator and them after like book 2 or 3 in like a 4 or 5 book series, and I'm like, this ain't even the same stuff. Like nothing's the same. They don't sound the same. It's like you just picked one random guy off the street and oh, here's another one, 3 books later. It's like, if you can do that, keep the
Yeah, I'm
same
gonna keep
one.
him for the series. I just don't know if I want to keep him for my next series or not. Like, I
Yeah,
don't know.
no, no, that doesn't matter. It's just a series. If you can keep the same author or same narrator, and if
Oh
you
yeah,
go
that's
and do another one, then yeah, do whoever you choose, do the whole series with that one.
yeah. I think
But,
because I've never listened to an audiobook, I just don't, and I can't really. And I
mhm,
think part of it's my attention span, and part of it's I just really like visually reading. It just works for me. I
mhm,
tune out very easily if I'm listening to something, even if someone's talking to me sometimes, I can literally just
yeah,
like fine tune them out. Um, so I don't know what to look for. So when even I put out for auditions, I was like, I don't even know what voice is good for an audition. And everybody's like, do your own. And I was like, you realize I'm working, I'm writing, I'm editing, trying to have my hobbies in my life. And I was like, doing an audiobook is like a whole nother task. I'm not Tim McKay. I'm not a robot.
I was just fixing to
Just
say the man, Tim
he is
McKay, does it all.
I know he's nuts. I admire him,
Yeah,
and I also want to kick him in the shin a little bit, and then say
yeah,
sorry because he's Canadian. Um,
yeah,
I don't. I wish I had the time and effort to do that, or desire to do that. I guess I could make the time. I just don't want to, and I don't want to buy the gear. I don't make enough of my
yeah,
books to even buy my covers. I don't want to buy my gear too. And I so doing auditions, I was like, man, I have no idea what I'm looking for. So I did about three, and I was like, okay, I'm picking this guy. This guy's voice is good. I like it. His samples are good. Like I don't want too many options because I'll never be able to pick. You
yeah,
give like if I cover artist sends me like three options, I'm like, this one's pretty because this one's pretty because this, and
yeah,
my I just go down a hole. I spiral because I can't handle it. Um, so I didn't want to do more than three. I went in with the goal of like, if I get three, I'm just picking whatever one out of the three I like the most, and I'm calling it good.
yeah.
So I did that. The guy communicates great, but those will be coming out. Um, as soon as possible. He always asks me
Mm,
like, "Do you need them out at a certain time?" And I'm like, "Nah, I'm not going to rush you. You're an artist too in your own like, you're an artist in your own regard. Do your thing. Like, I'm
yeah,
not going to pressure you. Just like I don't want to be pressured. I don't want people to be like, "Hey, you have to have your book out at this date," because like I don't want it. That's why I'm self-publishing.
yeah,
So I let him do his thing. I don't know anything about the audiobook world. Just like when I go to get a tattoo, they're like, "What do you want?" And I tell them. They draw it up and they're like, "Is that good?" I'm like, "Yeah, that works. You're the
sure,
tattoo designer, not me."
yeah,
So yeah, with that, I'm pretty free range. I'm like, I'm a writer. I'm not a visual artist. I'm not this. I'm not this. Like, you can show me a visual art and I'll be like, nah, I don't like that, or I do. But beyond that,
yeah. All right. So, do you have or happen to have a dream project you would like to start and finish before you're done?
I think the series that's really long, I would definitely want to start and finish that because I'm really excited about it. I just don't know if I don't know if it'll go to the audiences as much. Like, I don't know if there'll be that much
Mhm.
of an audience for it. Maybe there will. I don't know. Um, it's also just time to edit it. That's the issue. If I really wanted to do I would really love to do historical fiction because I love reading it.
Okay. Yeah.
I just don't have the time to do all the research and the little details in it. I would love to do one about, I don't know, anybody in ancient Rome, whether it's Mark Antony, Caesar, Cicero, or even one of the Persian kings would be super fun.
Mhm.
Um, so if I had the time and was like, this is something I would really, really like to do, it would be something like that. Because I love historical fiction. I think if you do it well, it's one of the coolest things that there is.
I've started reading historical fiction, and I've only read 2 books. Both of them are Christine Hanna's,
Hmm.
and they're both amazing. The Fourth Wind. I don't know if you've read it or not,
Mm-mm.
but it's about it's the 1928 to 36, like kind of Great Depression that happened in the U.S. and how like all the farmers, like all their fields dried up and the ground was so dry it like cracked and put craters and stuff in the.
Whoa.
It was awesome. It was so good. And then I've read The Women is the other one. That's from Vietnam, where
Oh,
the women are go over to how they become nurses and stuff, and how they go and deal with all that while they're over there. And well, it's actually about this one woman who goes because her brother gets sent over there for the war, and she goes just to be with him. And he ends well, not to spoil it because it's in the first, I don't know, 4 chapters. He dies before she even goes over there, but she already enlists, so she can't back out of it. So she has to go, and just all that goes on over there with that. It's
whoa.
they're both really good.
Well, I went on a
So
big Chris Humphreys spree, and he
okay.
writes one like of the fall of um, Constantinople, which is incredible. He writes one called Shakespeare's Rebel, which is like this old England one. He has a series that takes place in the American Revolution. He has tons of them, and they're just like phenomenal. But to me, historical fiction, like you have to be accurate, which means you have to do tons of research.
Mhm.
And I love research. Just it's a time constraint thing again. And like I feel like historical fiction readers, a lot of them will probably pick out something, right? Like, oh, this
Yeah.
is wrong. Like my World War II novel, which was my first thing I ever published, which is based off a World War II vet. I don't know all the. I'm not a gun person. I don't know the guns. I don't know all the tanks and airplanes. I've never been that type of person.
Mhm.
So I like Googled stuff and researched a little bit. And then this one guy gave me like a low rating because he was like, well, those didn't even exist yet. I Googled it and they said they did. So I don't know. Google says they do. Articles say they did. So I went with what Google told me and what the articles told me.
Yeah.
But he was very adamant that they didn't exist and gave me like a low rating because of it. So I assume historical fiction is probably like that. If someone's like really into it and they're like, that's not right, that's off, that's wrong, and then you're screwed. So that to me
Yeah.
is very terrifying. But I admire historical fiction authors, and I really never read a bad one. Everyone I've ever read, I really, because I'm a history nerd. I'm a total history nerd. So
Yeah.
you give me some history, awesome. You give me some books, awesome. You mix them together, make a story.
Yeah. See, I don't care really. Not that I don't care about history. I do some, but it's nothing like I'm not like super into it. But like the way, like just in the way that she wrote it, is it's, the backdrop is what's going on for
Right.
real in the country. And then you have this whole other story that's happening through it. And that's what's so intriguing to me is just like this story that's made up happening in this real life event.
Yeah.
Like that's, I think that's really cool.
I mean,
So
that's
it's,
why I love historical fiction for that reason. I think it's
yeah,
totally, I mean, you have, like I was saying, like this guy, George Washington's a back character. Like he doesn't play a big role, but he comes in and you're like, oh, shoot, cool. Shakespeare, even like he's a side character. He's mentioned. He comes in maybe once
yeah,
or twice in Shakespeare's Rebel. And you're like, whoa, that's like, he's not an important character in the book, but it's cool that these real life people that you know, these real life people that
yeah,
you hear of, and these scenarios come into this real life setting, but this fictional story, like you said. And I think it's
yeah,
so cool that I think it takes a whole nother mindset. And I just think it's really fascinating to weave. It's one thing to build your own world and weave everything into it. It's another
yeah,
thing to take a real world, something that people know,
yeah.
and weave a story into other stories that are actually fact or historically accurate. So it's
Yeah.
like, to me, it's
Oh,
crazy impressive. I would like to do it one day, maybe.
if you could, I don't know if you've read it or not, but 11/22/63, Stephen King.
Heard of it. I'm
Oh
not a big
my
Stephen King fan. I'm
gosh.
not gonna lie.
It's top 2 favorite books I've ever read, and it's historical fiction slash time travel slash love story slash it is phenomenal. I love it.
Is it about FDR
Yeah. No, RF,
or
geez, I can't even say it.
JFK?
RFK. Yeah. Yeah. John F. Kennedy. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
JFK.
JFK. Yeah,
Yeah.
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 Okay.
Well, it's about, yes, trying to stop Lee Harvey Oswald from killing him.
Yeah,
And he
I actually
goes,
did want to read that. I never got to it. I forgot until you
oh,
just mentioned it. I did want to read it
I,
back in college, and I never got to it.
yes, It is amazing. I loved that book. So good. And the love story in it is fantastic. I mean, just because the whole point of it is the main character or another person um, basically finds a portal into 1958, which it happens in 1963. But every time you go in time back, you go back to 1958. Doesn't matter if you spend 5 minutes there or 2 years there. When you come back to the present day, it's only been 2 minutes.
Oh,
So,
that's
but whatever you do in that time affects what happens in present day. So it does everything, and then the past is trying to stop him from stopping Lee Harvey Oswald from killing JFK. So it's like all interwoven. It is so good.
that's pretty awesome. Actually, I love
Yeah.
Outlander for that reason. It's not as like potent, but like
Mhm.
in it, she's always weary of, oh, if I do this, will it change time? Like, and she's in love with this guy, and she's like, I can't do things to save him that will change the future. So it's
Yeah.
cool. And at one point, there's like a native character that goes back and he wants to get all the natives together. That way, the U.S. doesn't get taken over by the Europeans. He fails. They kill him. They think he's like a evil spirit or whatever. So it's just cool to have those things and things that we know and how people I don't know how people weave it and interact with it. I think it's all fascinating. So I'd love to do something like it one day. I
Yeah.
really think it'd be awesome.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll do a little few rapid fire questions here since we're already past an hour.
Good.
Let's get to know you a little bit more. Are you a gamer?
Used
No.
to be. I played Smite a lot of sports games. When Halo 3 was a thing when I was in high school,
Oh
super gamer.
yeah.
Every day,
That's
3,
right.
4, 5, 6 hours a day, every day.
Yep.
We a few of us took Halo very seriously. We even like 4v4 professional Halo gamers to try to get our
Nice.
name out there. So not anymore, but I was.
Yeah. Same way. I don't have time much anymore. My son just got the Switch too, so I've been messing with it a little bit, but not
If I had
much
Mario
since I
Kart, I
learned.
probably would be a gamer again. I'd
Yeah.
Mario Kart my ass off.
It's fun. So, all right. Did you play any sports?
Yeah, I played basketball. I still play basketball in a men's league. Played baseball for years, sucked horribly. Great fielder, terrible hitter. Played tennis recreationally. Um, bowl a lot if you consider. I mean, bowling's a sport. Um,
Okay.
Played football, but I mean, I loved hitting people, so tried to do MMA, got disqualified, and learned that MMA is not my thing because I get into the heat of the moment too much. I think that's it.
Okay.
Oh, and volleyball is fun. Beach volleyball is cool, but I don't played it, but not like competitively.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So, all right. What do you need in your workspace when you're writing? Like candles, music, like you use headphones, or is it just we going in? It don't matter.
Sometimes I like a TV show on in the background, like New Girl or Friends, or just something that I've seen that
Yeah.
I know what's going on, but I don't have to pay super close attention.
Yeah.
I don't really love listening to music unless I'm feeling it. Like unless I'm writing a poem and I'm like, I need some music. I need some instrumentals or just anything that I can vibe to kind of get my juices flowing. Um, Reading, I need pure silence, but writing, I can be in chaos. Doesn't really matter. I
Okay.
would like to build an office again. I did have an office when I had a farm where I would write at this really nice L-shaped desk next to these huge windows where I could see my horses. Ooh, excuse me. But I don't have that currently, but one day hopefully. And there'll just be a tons of Game of Thrones stuff in the background probably.
There you go. Yeah. Get the full seat and everything.
Yep.
That'd be cool. All right. So, what advice would you give to anyone that's wanting to become an author?
To be prepared for scrutiny, to accept reviews for what they are, and to not allow it to dictate who you are. To really realize that everything is different for every single person, and that everybody loving your work is impossible. Everybody not loving your work is unlikely, and just kind of accepting what comes your way and being happy for it, whether it's one review, 20 reviews, whether people are sharing it, whether it's not, because the moment you let it defeat you is really the end of everything. It's when you become like and I was there almost, this bitter, grumpy, pissy person that was like, why is this not going my way? This sucks.
Yeah.
So really like focusing on your mentality and not letting the world beat you and just doing what you want to do.
Okay. Mark had a question. Not sure if this was asked, but was there an author who inspired you to start writing?
Brian Jocks was probably the catalyst to my writing endeavor in general, because he was my opening to really enjoying books, and his style and his world and everything was really just fun and he was what really got me into books. So he's probably the one.
Okay. So if you were not an author, what would be your dream job?
Well, like I mentioned, I was majoring in genetics, and I wanted to be a part of the team that was cloning saber-toothed tigers and woolly mammoths. And I also wanted to be a part of the teams that are cloning animals to get them to reproduce, to repopulate species that are on the brink of endangerment. So that was my dream job, still kind of is, but the time is a little bit past. And that was what track I was on before I went into English afterward.
That's pretty cool. I've never heard anyone talk about genetics or nothing. So
I'm a super
that's
genetics
pretty
nerd.
neat.
Even when I had my eco farm, I got 4 different breeds of chickens to see
Yeah.
how the breeding with the other chickens would impact the future generations of those chickens, how their color, how their breed, how all of that would play roles in how the breeding happened and what the chickens would come out as and how their eggs would come out. Super nerdy, super
Wow.
scientisty, but
Yep.
without madness and just with chickens.
Heck yeah. That sounds really cool. All right. So I already know this answer, but I'll ask it anyways. Who is your favorite author or authors?
Oh yeah, everybody knows George R. R. Martin. If anybody follows my Twitter, they know. My threads, they know. George R. R. Martin is my main man. I will back him until he dies, even though he never replies to anything I tweet at him or message him or email him. Yeah, I think he's incredible. I think he's the best writer ever to exist. And Game of Thrones really, Song of Ice and Fire really like changed my life in a lot of ways. So,
Are you going to watch the new series?
oh yeah, I'm
Yeah.
not super stoked for it because it's a very different vibe from what I've
Mhm.
read and understand, but I still want to watch it. House of the Dragon is okay as well, kind of disappointing, but
Yeah.
the A Song of Ice and Fire, the books. I haven't read A Night of the 12 Kingdoms books, Duncan Egg or whatever. I haven't read those books yet. I do need to get them. My reading list.
Just like everybody's.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, everything he touches to me is basically gold, and
Mm.
he's probably the only man that if he was like kiss me on the cheek, I would do it. Well, maybe The Rock too, but that's out of
There
fear.
you go. That's
Um,
right. Okay. So, all right. If you could put yourself in any story, which one would it be?
not a Song of Ice and Fire because
Oh,
I would die.
heck no.
I know I would die because I would be like Robb Stark. I would think I'm doing the noble thing and I would perish so fast. Not a Wheel of Time, because if I don't have magic, I'm screwed. And if I do have magic, I'm screwed. So it doesn't really sound too fun to me. Maybe the Arc of Scythe, which I'm unsure about, but it would be interesting to be one of the scythes in the series. Even though they go through some devastating stuff, it'd be very interesting, and I have a lower chance of being murdered. So out of my favorite series, I would probably pick the Arc of Scythe.
Okay. All right. So we've got 3 questions left. They're mainly for me just because I can do that. So they're very easy too. What are you reading right now?
As everybody knows, The Wheel of Time. I am also arc reading something called Moonborn. I just volunteered to arc read it because I like the cover, and the author is she's a very sweet person. So I was like, yeah, I'll arc read that. I'm engulfed in The Wheel of Time, book 8 at the moment, trying to get through it. So
Okay. I just finished today Wistful Ascension by J.C.M. Byrne.
ooh, nice.
It was phenomenal. Superhero, So good. And it's not like any other superhero like story, like nothing like Superman or nothing like that. Like it is so good. So I'm pretty excited to continue on with that because I think, which yeah, I just put out a video today on stuff that's coming out next year or this year, and I think book 8 and book 9 in the series is coming out
Uh,
this year. So it, oh my gosh, it was so great, so great.
I can't even imagine doing a 9-book series. I would love to, but I can't imagine it.
I don't know how many he's doing. I don't know if it's a bunch or I'm assuming it's going
Oh,
to be.
it's the series with the long-haired dude, he's, like,
Yeah,
tan. Yeah, okay. And
yeah,
there's, like, a shark on the new cover.
yep,
Okay.
that's right. Yeah, yeah, it's great. So okay, what is your favorite book?
A Song of Ice and Fire is close, but a singular book would be Anthem by Ayn Rand. I think that is
Okay,
also
yes,
one
I've
book.
heard of that.
It's one book that really changed my outlook on life. It's a
Okay,
quick read. It's the only book I've actually read twice. I think I've read it 3 times, but it's the only book I've read more than once. Well, no, I read Salamander on twice, but, um, I read it multiple times. I mean, Ayn Rand's a great writer. It's pretty insightful. It's fun. It's really intense in some ways, and yeah, as a singular book, hands down, Anthem for sure. And as a book that is fantasy, but also plays a part in what we do day to day and everything. Yeah, I read it in college multiple times, and yeah, it's phenomenal.
sounds good. All right, last question. What book would you recommend me to read?
A Song of Ice and Fire, all of them.
Okay,
Even without Winds of Winter, I would still recommend that to anybody any day.
okay, I can definitely do that. I actually had them on mass market paperback and got rid of them because I was like, okay, yeah, I'm going to read it. And then I opened one up to look at it and I'm squinting to read the first page. But I can't do this. I need a bigger book.
Yeah, I got the little
So,
leather ones. They are difficult to read. They're
yes, yes. I've nearly got them multiple times, but I was like, they're just too small.
They are,
Can't
but
do
they're
it.
great for an airplane because I read a
Oh, yeah.
ton when I travel. So on the plane or at the airport, I'm always reading. So
Yeah.
they're like this big and they're hard. So in a backpack or on an airplane, fantastic. At home,
Perfect.
not the best, but travel
Yeah.
wise, they're great. And they're
Yeah.
hefty little things. If you need to hit someone and knock them out with it, you can do it. So
Yeah. Okay. All right. All right. Well, that's all that I have. Do you want to say anything else before we end the live?
uh Tales of Battle Book 3 is out for pre-order, coming out February 1st. Ballads by Bears, I'm waiting for my cover artist to get back to me, but that will be coming out hopefully in March. And then in April, Flame of Alamandraz, the first book in Ashes and Embers, is coming out. And then Tales of Battle 4 should be coming out toward the end of the year, and maybe even book 2 in Ashes and Embers. I don't know about that one yet. But yeah,
Okay.
4 or 5 books this year, one coming out next month. And keep your eyes out for the pre-order date for Flame of Alamandraz. That's yeah.
Heck yeah. A busy, busy man this year. That's for sure.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you everybody that was in the chat tonight and showed up and appreciate it. And y'all have a fantastic evening.